Assalamu alaikum and welcome to my channel Tor of Spin. This discussion is about Lord Jim A Tale. Lord Jim, a novel written by Joseph Conrad in 1900. And in fact, Joseph Conrad, he belongs to the heroic age of English novel, which is from 1912 up to 1930, and the rest of the novelists of this period are E.M. Forster, Virginia Woolf, D.H. Lawrence, and James Joyce. And of course, Joseph Conrad is the member as well. Lord Jim A Tale. In fact, this novel, first it was published in a form of short story. Later on, the story it was expanded, and Lord Jim, the novel, it consists of two parts. The SS Patna, which is the story of a ship and the Indian pilgrims who are going in the ship to visit the holy places, the sacred places of their religion as per their belief. And then the second part is the state of an imaginary state or country, that is Patusan. And the main focuses on the protagonist, Jim. So Jim is a mediocre character, a mediocre individual. However, he has been depicted or presented as a hero or a protagonist. Though he might have aptitude, but the question is how we can polish the aptitude with hard work and the intellectual capability or capacity. So, Lord Jim, he wants to become a hero, but since he deserts, he leaves alone the pilgrims on the ship during the crisis. This is a stigma, this jump, it haunts him throughout his life, even in Patusan and the rest of the places where he goes after the inquiry and the cancellation of his license. But the main focus of Joseph Conrad is that a mediocre person, if he or she wants to become a hero, to get a status in life, it's very difficult if that person, if that individual doesn't have a natural talent or an inborn qualities. Now we will consider the details about the title, theme, characters, setting, the narrative techniques, the representation of the women, and the words taken from the other languages and some other important points. However, this discussion is only focused on the title of the Lord Jim A Tale, the theme of the novel, the setting of the novel, and the narrative techniques. The rest of the parts will be taken in another lecture. Lord Jim, Stylistic Analysis. Lord Jim, A Tale, this novel by Joseph Conrad, can be divided into two sections, that is the SS Patna, and the second section or second part is the adventure of a white man in an imaginary state, Patusan. SS Patna. This is the first part of the novel. The first section of the text from chapter 1 to 19 is about the Indian pilgrims on the ship SS Patna. So SS Patna is in fact the name of a ship. The pilgrims are left alone during the crisis by the crew members of the ship. The shipmate, Jim, believes in second chance or in second thought or second opportunity. For second chance, he goes to the state of Patusan and Jim becomes Lord Jim in Patusan. However, there are rival groups in Patusan and they are fighting against each other. Jim supports one of the tribe against another one, and at the end of the novel, a gentleman Brown, who is a notorious dacoit, and his gang come to Patusan for loot and plunder. Dan Waris, who is the crown prince of the future of Patusan, besieges the gang of gentleman Brown. However, Jim gives the gang a safe passage. While going back, the gang attacks Dan Waris and kills him. Thus, Doraman, the chief of one of the tribes, loses the life of his only son due to the wrong strategy and policy of a white man, Jim. However, Jim wants to become martyr to remain dominant in the story. Now we will take the stylistic analysis of some of the parts, the literary parts of the novel Lord Jim. And we can consider the analysis of the title, theme, setting, narrative techniques, the fictionalized, colonized, and colonizers, employment of words from the other languages in the novel, and the representation of women. But this discussion will be focused on only the title, theme, setting, and narrative techniques. The rest of the discussion will be considered in the following discussion or lecture. Lord Jim, the title. The earliest version of the novel, it was in fact written in the form of a short story, and its title was Jim, a Sketch. Later on, a malign word Tuan in the meaning of Lord was added, and the title became Tuan Jim, a Sketch. For the serialization of the novel, that is 1899-1900, the title was Lord Jim, a Sketch. Later on in 1900, the novel was published in the form of Lord Jim, a Tale. Now its title is Lord Jim, a Tale. Tuan is a malign term with the English meaning Lord. It is also implied or used in the sense of courage, bravery, and respect. The literal sense of Tuan, however, is also master, sir, or simply Mr. In Malay language, Tuan is used for addressing high status individuals in the local sense as well as for the foreigners. In the course of struggle, the credit is bestowed upon a white man, Jim, with the title Tuan or Lord by Doraman, a leader or sultan in Patusan, as a gratitude. And what is that gratitude? That gratitude is in fact the support provided by Jim to his tribe. The main point of the critics is the combination of a formal aristocratic word Lord for an ordinary or a mediocre white person, Jim. Now, Lord Jim and its theme. The theme of Lord Jim is the heroism of a white man in the territory of Patusan, an imaginary state. However, the aptitude and inborn qualities should be polished with hard work and practical experience. An individual without decisive power cannot become a hero or a protagonist. Physical heroism is different from intellectual heroism or from intellectual struggle and thinking. The ghost of Jum from SS Patna is haunting Jim. He leaves for Patusan to hide himself with the thought that the slings of Patna belong to another world and does not like to reveal the whole truth. Patna and Patusan become weak points for Jim as the incident occurred to him in Patna. It haunts always Jim even in the state of Patusan. Some critics link the theme with modernism and state that loneliness is the main theme of Lord Jim, which is presented with the emphasis on impressionism and deep psychological sins. The psychological drama is staged in the theatre of a colonized state, Patusan. The adventure without burn qualities can lead to self-destruction. The incidents of Lord Jim takes place at various locations, beginning in India and ending at the South Sea, Patusan. The time period is 19th century and the East is the theatre where the last action of the novel takes place. Now, the narrative technique. The novels of Joseph Conrad, Heart of Darkness, Lord Jim, Youth and Chance, they have a unique narrative technique. And the style of narration in Lord Jim is frame narrative. This frame narrative is applied in the four novels which I just mentioned. A tale within a tale, the narrator begins, Marlowe takes over for the rest of the incidents and the details. The text is narrated first by an omniscient third-person narrator. However, he does not provide all the details about the early life of Jim and the rest of the incidents. Later on, Marlowe is introduced, who narrates the details about the other characters. In conclusion, we can say that Lord Jim consists of two sections, the SS Patna and the adventure of Jim in the state of Patusan. In this discussion, the focus was on the title, theme, setting and narrative techniques, and they have been discussed slightly with proper argumentative approach. In the following lecture, the discussion would be focused on the fictionalized, colonized and colonizers, that is the characters in the novel Lord Jim a Tale, the employment of the other words, the representation of the women. This was a slight introduction or discussion about the novel Lord Jim by Joseph Conrad. In this lecture, we discussed the title, the narrative techniques, the theme and setting of the novel. The rest of the parts will be considered in the next lecture or next discussion. Thank you very much for your kind attention.